Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Parleh Show presented by Bet99. I'm Albert Vartanian. No Rob Conway today. He's on vacation with the family, so I'm solo. But joining me shortly will be my co-host today, Matthew Barnaby, former NHLer and our betting guru over at Bet99. Barney, how are you, man?
I'm good. I was a little jealous of seeing GSP and Rob in Vancouver after parties. Now he's in Kelowna. Like, man, that guy has a life.
He's living the life, and I know I saw that super edit of GSP at the club. They had the sign going, the bottles. That's a great time, man.
Yeah, I didn't get that when I went to Toronto, so I'm gonna have to talk to these guys. But it looked like a great time. The event was awesome. The UFC was awesome,
Yeah.
and Nunez winning, retiring. Pretty cool weekend.
Yeah, she's got to be thrown into the GOAT category, I think. She posted a video of all her championship belts. There's like 9 of them with the old belts, the new belts. She's been dominant for so long. It's hard to think of another woman that's even better. I mean, maybe Valentina Shevchenko is probably getting towards that point, but she has to go down as one of the GOATs, no?
Yeah, she's certainly in there. And when you bet it, you can't bet her just to win. You have to bet her in submission or knockout, KO, whatever it may be. But she's certainly in that conversation, a great fighter and just been a great role model, to be honest.
Yeah, speaking of GOATs, we'll talk about him shortly later on in the show. Nikola Jokic put on another fantastic performance, won the MVP. Barney, you predicted it, man. The Nuggets got it done in 5. You're hoping Vegas does the same tonight, but the bank account's looking pretty good today, eh?
It's been a good few weeks. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs.
Yeah.
You have to live through them and not, it's betting sports. It's not every day is easy, but some days I've always said I like betting in postseason rather than regular season. I just think it's an easier track record. Now, if we go back to the NHL and NBA in the first rounds, maybe not so much this year, but I really liked it. I really liked the matchups. I thought the books got it wrong, to be honest, in this series, especially being on the roads for 2 games, seeing the line at 3. I didn't think it made sense, so I hammered that twice, and it ending in 5 just made it a great profitable series.
Yeah, the Nuggets showed why they're so good. And we'll talk about futures for next season. They're already favored to win it all, plus 460. When you think about you look at some of those teams in the West, not great. Memphis has some trouble. The East isn't that great. Who knows what we'll get from Embiid and Nick Nurse over in Philly. But we'll talk about that in the next block. Let's talk some hockey. Game 5 tonight in Vegas. The odds currently on Bet99. Panthers plus 140 to extend the series. Vegas minus 165. You can get Vegas on the puck line at plus 160, and the total is at 6. The pressure, I think, is probably on Vegas to close it out. How much do you know about, closing out a massive series? Like, is there a different type of mental aspect that pops into your mind heading into a game like that?
You know what? I still think the pressure's on Florida. Listen, they
Okay.
were the underdog going in, but Vegas up 3-1, being the better team, being at home, they can play loose. They aren't going to play tight. And Florida probably is going to come out and play hard, but they will be a little tight. It's inevitable when you know your series and season is on the line. So I think there is pressure on Florida to extend this. And Golden Knights have played great at home. They've been dominant. There's a better way to bet this game than minus 165 on tonight's game, and then just go to the series 4-1 series win for Vegas. That's at minus 150. So you're betting the exact same thing, but betting the series. So if you want to bet the Golden Knights, bet it that way. You'll have a better return on your investment.
I love that odd shopping. Okay, Paul Maurice, he actually mentioned this in his pregame presser. He said teams down 3-1 can play with a lot more freedom mentally. Do you I know you kind of just said you disagree with that, but do you think he actually believes that?
No, I don't think so. Never believe anything you read in the tea leaves and the notes or
Yeah.
what players say, like Mitch Marner saying earlier. We don't listen to anything you say. You listen to everything that reporters and what we say in various media outlets. So no, they don't. Their pressure is they win or they go home. That's fact. Vegas has 3 chances at it. There's no pressure on them. They'd rather win it tonight, but there's no pressure on them to win. It's all on Florida.
Yeah. We talk about players all the time on Vegas stepping up. The last game, it was Chandler Stevenson. And the game, before that, it's Marcia Show, it's Eichel, it's Stone, it's Petrangelo, it's the goalie. They're so deep. The depth, I think, is overwhelming the Florida Panthers. But the Panthers' depth, I think, is really going to be tested tonight. They were tested last game as well. But Kachuk, we don't know if he's going to start. He only played about 16 minutes in the last game. I think 4 or 5 forwards actually played more minutes than him. For Florida, if they even want a chance at coming back here, who needs to step up in essentially his absence?
Well, I think it's by committee. You have to get,
Yeah.
for Hagee, who scored 40 in the regular season, had the overtime winner in, I believe, game 2 or 3. And, a guy like Barkov, who's so dominant. But without a guy like Matthew Tkachuk that brings so many different elements, and he just wasn't himself in game 4. You could see right from the warm-up when he couldn't even take a shot. And after every hit, he grimaced and came off. And that's a tough loss when arguably your most valuable player is not at 100%, maybe not even at 80%, maybe at 60%. That's a tough order. So if someone's going to really steal a game, you have to look at in net, and that'd be Bobrovsky. He has to steal them a game if they're going to get back in the series.
Yeah, listen, they've kind of been undisciplined as well in terms of taking just really bad penalties time and time again. Look at the end of the last game. It was just pure chaos. I mean, if you're the Panthers, or not even if you're Vegas, you probably don't want to get involved in those things, but the Panthers are trying to pull them in. Is that maybe one way that they can drag Vegas out of this thing?
Vegas isn't going to climb into it.
Yeah.
Cassidy's too good a coach. I can guarantee the narrative is do not get involved. And that's been the way since game 1 when we saw that the way that they were going to try to play. The only chance for Florida was to get nasty, Bobrovsky stand on his head. Vegas is a deeper team, a more talented team, and that was the way that they were going to win. And they've been very good at staying out of it. So they will not engage whatsoever. They've matched physically between the whistles what Florida has done. The extracurricular or the after the whistle stuff, they haven't engaged in until they had to at the end of the game when the games were out of hand. So I don't see them playing anything but in between the whistles and everything after the whistle. Let Florida take the stupid penalties. Their power play has been amazing.
Yeah, Vegas 6 for 18 on the power play. Florida 0 for 13. Not good enough. I love this Vegas team though, by the way, Barney. Just they're so fun to watch. Everybody's all in from the goalie to the fourth line, all 6 defensemen. It's an impressive team to watch. And it's crazy that Bill Zito, was it Bill Zito? Not Bill Zito.
No, Bill Zito.
Bill Foley.
Bill Foley.
He's the one who called it when Vegas first came into the league, saying we're going to get this done in 6 seasons. I don't know how you even predict that, but it's unbelievable what an expansion team can do in just 6 years.
Can you imagine being like, listen, I played in Buffalo and the great fans of Buffalo, but imagine coming in like 1970 and seeing a team win it in their first 5 years of existence. Like how insane is that? Now, the league did help the expansion team, but all the other GMs in the NHL at the time and being up against the salary cap helped this team position themselves to where they are now. And you gotta absolutely love it for a guy like Marchessault to be where he is. He is going to be the Conn Smythe winner. I think right now he's at minus 625, and the next closest is Aiden Hill at plus 840. So this is going to be Marchessault as your Conn Smythe winner, and I think it's going to be after tonight. And again, if you want to bet it, bet the series minus 150.
Yeah, and how about Marchessault not being protected by the Panthers in that expansion draft? And then he goes over to Vegas, and now it looks like he's going to beat them for the Stanley Cup. I was just about to ask you about the Conn Smythe. So you have Marchessault, 13 goals, 24 points, 9-game point streak. Aiden Hill, obviously, plus 840. And then you have Eichel, plus 2,500, who's one of the favorites heading into this series for Vegas to win it. Not bad, though, Barney. 23 points. He got 5 assists in the Stanley Cup Finals. He's been good, but I guess maybe not good enough to overtake Marchessault.
Yeah, 12 goals in 13 games. I just don't think you can overlook those numbers. And Eichel's been great. And I don't want to bring Buffalo back up again, but how about this? They trade Ryan O'Reilly. He goes, wins the Conn Smythe, wins the Stanley Cup with St. Louis. Trade Eichel. They think, everything's Eichel's fault. Well, he just plays like a superstar in this playoffs and wins. And you talked about the NBA, and we're going to talk about that. But Vegas next year is already plus 1,100. They're the 4th favorite team to win the Stanley Cup with Colorado, Toronto, and Edmonton all around 860 to 900. So Vegas already being overlooked for next year at plus 1,100. Not a bad spot.
Yeah, who knows what'll happen goaltending wise? I think Caden Hill's a restricted free
Free agent.
agent. They
Yeah,
might need a new goalie. So Vegas have some things to do, but they have an excellent team. Okay, so Barney's taking Vegas tonight, but the series line, right? 4-1 minus 150.
correct. Yeah.
All right, so that's Barney's pick for this NHL game tonight. Okay, coming up after the break, we're going to talk some basketball and maybe whether or not this Denver Nuggets team is the next dynasty in the NBA. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that. All right, welcome back to the Parleh Show presented by Bet99. I'm Albert Vartanian with my co-host Matthew Barnaby. Matthew, you were all over the Denver Nuggets to win this thing. They pulled it off. I want to hit you with some stats here when it comes to Nikola Jokic, Finals MVP. First player in NBA history to lead all players in points, rebounds, and assists. First player in NBA history. His final stat line, 30 points, 14 boards, 7 assists, 58% from the field. Playoff average, 30 points, 13 boards, 9 assists, one shy of averaging a triple-double, 10 triple-doubles in the playoffs, the only player to ever do that. You've watched basketball a long time. Can you compare this guy to anybody else that you've ever seen?
He's like Shaq a little bit, the way he's unstoppable in the paint, but no, not really. He does, like, if you watched him rebound yesterday, it really felt like he had every rebound in the first half. Like every defensive rebound, it felt like he had. He makes it look effortless. One-on-one, if he doesn't get help, if you don't give help in defending him, it's an automatic two. It's absolutely automatic, and he makes it look effortless. I'm a little pissed off at him because he won me plus 460.
Yeah.
Winning it in 5 games, and that's what we called, and that's where the value was going in the series, winning it in 4 games or 5 games. But I bet him to get over 28.5 points last night.
28, Barney.
He finished with 28. Give him the ball on the inbound and let them foul so we can go over. But he was extraordinary. Jamal Murray, the Canadian from Kitchener, was incredible. As a guard, he was one of 3 to get 50-plus assists and over 100 points in the finals. I think MJ did it. Magic Johnson did it. So unbelievable by him. Jimmy Butler was awful yesterday and throughout most of the series until the fourth quarter when it was too late. And then he had like 12 or 14 straight points for them. But listen, Jokic is a superstar, has been a superstar, and now he's a champion. And good for him. Jamal Murray, the Denver Nuggets, when they're their first in their history. But yeah, absolute superstar, and they are the favorite.
Yeah.
And I'd put my money back on them, but the odds aren't quite good enough right now. But when you look at the way that they are built, they have to be the favorite for a repeat.
Yeah, plus 460. Just behind them, the Celtics plus 480, the Bucks plus 600, Suns 820. You got the Golden State Warriors rounding off the top 5 there at plus 1100. I mean, if you look at this Denver team, Jokic is there until 2028. I think there's a few more years left with Jamal Murray. Who else is there? We've got Bruce Brown. You got Porter Jr., who's locked in. I mean, they have a couple free agents, but nothing too serious. If you look at teams in the West, Memphis has issues with Ja Morant. I mean, that suspension isn't coming soon, right? Adam Silver said he's going to wait till after the finals.
Absolutely.
It could be 20-plus games, could be half a season. So they're in trouble. The Lakers, they still got things to figure out. LeBron is a year older. Will he even be there? You look at Dallas, couldn't make the playoffs with Kyrie and Doncic. So in the West, it's theirs, I believe. In the East, you have the Celtics. They might have to retool a bit. The Sixers probably maybe their biggest threat with the Bucks in the East. But going forward, I mean, you can't really stop what's going on here with this 2-man game. And if Jokic keeps up this type of production stats-wise, I don't see any other team beating them.
Yeah, Morant, I see half a season. I mean, I don't know how you
probably right. Yeah,
you go anything but that. I mean, what he's done and just complete utter disrespect. And I don't even want to talk about that. We'll talk to that another time. This is about Denver, and the one thing with Denver to a lot of those other teams, there's no drama. There's no drama with this team. It doesn't seem like any of them are prima donnas. Jamal Murray, and when you're big two, don't have egos. They just play and they play hard, and everything's for the team. I mean, we even see Jokic yesterday just losing it on the guys because they're like, "Hey, we can't lose this one," and give them a sniff. And once that happened, it was a completely different team. So this team is built for the long term. These guys aren't old, no drama, talented as can be. I don't see any reason why they can't win 2-3 championships.
Yeah, Jokic, just 28 years old. Yeah, Jokic showed more emotion on the bench
Yeah,
from what you're speaking of than he did when they won it. As
yeah,
soon as he won, he went up to every single Heat player, shook their hands,
yeah,
and even the celebrations, he just wanted to be with his family. He wasn't jumping up
yeah,
and down. He wasn't, on top of the broadcast desk in the locker room. It looked like he didn't even know how to handle a champagne bottle.
yeah,
And his post game, he's talking about like, when's the parade? Oh my God, the parade is. I need to go home. Like he's the guy.
yeah.
He's so humble where it's just like he is a person and a human being first before he is an athlete, which I find amazing. I think it's a great quality. It's like I play basketball. I'm an NBA star, but that's not who I am. And you don't see many stars like that. And I think that's what you're saying with the drama. Have you come across anybody in your time in professional sport in the NHL that is similar to him in terms of his humbleness?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Wayne Gretzky is the most humble superstar, and not even superstar, goat that you could ever meet. I've met Michael Jordan, not great. I've heard things about Tiger Woods, sometimes. Wayne Gretzky is the epitome of everything great in the sport, and then Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby, just a good person. Have you ever heard any drama about Sidney Crosby
No.
in his whole 20-year career? No, he just wins and team first and let's win. And they all want to be the best. Like, stats are important to them because they know they have to have good stats for their teams to win because they play so long. But Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby in our game are two of the best of all time.
And you look at Jokic, he's not a guy who stat pads. Like getting these triple
No,
doubles is not because he's trying to grab a board at 30 seconds left in the game to get a triple double. He's out there doing his job.
yesterday he's deferring all game long.
Yeah.
He deferred till the third quarter, and if they're going to double him, he's going to find the open guy and find the best. It is what it is. He everyone knows he's a superstar. He knows in his mind he's a superstar. He knows he can put up the points when it's time, but when it's time to defer and win a championship, and that's what I saw with him in the finals, was his willingness to put the team first and to win.
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy Butler was trying to do that with the Miami Heat, I think a bit too much. Jeff Van Gundy,
Yeah,
I think, summed it up perfectly. He was saying, he goes, the role players are being put into position. They're essentially being asked for too much, asked to
yeah.
do too much. At one point, Jimmy was 2 for 13 with 8 points, I think, heading into the fourth quarter. It's not good enough. And it's tough to, Barney, it's tough to shit on the Miami Heat and Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler.
Oh,
They're an 8th seed, right? So it's only so much you can say. It was an incredible run. They just ran into a buzzsaw in Denver and they just met their match, I think.
listen, I always judge, like I've said this before. If you judge a team not to make the playoffs and they don't make the playoffs, it's not on the coach. It's really not on the players. It's on the GM because he hasn't built a good enough team. If we pick a team to finish top 4 and they don't make the playoffs, then it's on the players and the coach and not the GM, because we've predicted where we think they should finish based on their roster. Miami, an incredible run. You can't take anything away from what they did and who they beat and how they got in. And Jimmy Butler was great in the playoffs. He just didn't have a great final series. And in the last game until the fourth quarter wasn't very good. But yeah, Jimmy didn't take the bull by the horns when he had that opportunity. And Denver was the better team, clearing away the better team. And when it came down to it, Jokic had to have a great fourth quarter. He was the best player on the court. And if you look from the betting side of it, they were down 7. They were 1 from 13 from the floor. I think at one point they were 1 for 18 from 3.
Yeah.
And they were 1.5 point favorites. You knew that had to change. So that was a great chance for a lot of people to be able to make some money and get great value on the team that's better when they're only down by 7 and had one of the worst shooting performances. No, they had the worst shooting performance at 6.7% at the half. You knew that was going to change.
Yeah, and they turned that game into a dogfight. That was all Miami trying to figure out how the hell are we going to beat these guys. But listen, if you're betting Miami from the play-in to this point, you made a lot of money because they were dogs in almost every single game.
Absolutely, you
right?
made bank.
You made absolute bank. Jimmy Butler still had, I think, a playoff for the ages. No question, he took them to that point. So I'm not going to dog him too much. But the Denver Nuggets just too good and possibly a dynasty. Okay, coming up after the break, we're going to bring in Sean McCormack and we're going to chat some baseball. The Jays open up a 3-game set against the Baltimore Orioles. Also kicking off on Thursday, the U.S. Open. We'll chat about that with Barney as well. So please stay tuned for more Parleh Show presented by Bet99. All right, welcome back to the Parleh Show presented by Bet99. Time to talk some baseball, and joining me and my co-host Matthew Barnaby is Sean McCormick of the Homestand. We're going to talk some Jays, and it's oh no, guys, it's the AL East once again. The Jays 6-15 against the AL East. They open up a 3-game set against the Orioles, which kicks off a 9-game homestand. The Jays right now minus 125 to win this game. Baltimore plus 105. Sean, I'll start with you. Expectations for the Jays heading into this massive series, because I feel like the Orioles can really bridge a serious gap in the division.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough series for sure. I mean, both teams come in pretty hot. Baltimore's on a 4-game winning streak coming into this series, and for me, it's just like Baltimore second in the league right now. You got to be kidding me with that. It'll come down to starting pitching for me in this series. I mean, we've got Bassett and Dean Kramer going on the hill tonight, and I just don't think that the Jays have what it takes right now to get this rolling. That's what I think at the moment.
Yeah, Barney, based on what you've seen from the Jays so far, you think they can hang with a team like the Baltimore Orioles? I know it's crazy to say now, but based on what we've seen from the Jays so far, I mean, they're turning a corner, but not the greatest.
Yeah, I think they've been hit and miss. Yeah, some days you just expect more, and obviously they have hitting that can compete with anyone when they get hot. But can their pitching, like Sean said, do it for a full series? It's been a game here, bad for 2, good for 2, bad for 2. And this is I think a series that we can learn a lot about this team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Manoah sent down, he's not around. So, you know, I think coming into the year, we're like, okay, this could be a playoff team. They can hit. Manoah's a stud. And when you lose your best pitcher because he just hasn't been able to perform, you look down the lineup, you're like, okay, now everyone gets slotted. And I compare everything in sports to slotting. Hockey, you pay a guy, you know, $7 million a year when he's probably a $5 million player. He goes from a third line to a second, or a second to a first. Everyone gets moved up a spot in the lineup, and that's what pitching is all about. That's what wins championships, and that's what get you into the playoffs. So I think we'll learn a lot about them. They can compete with anyone when they're hitting, and they have great young talent. Can the pitching be good enough to beat a very good Orioles team?
Hey, Barney, I want to touch on just the Manoah thing quickly, because they kind of got a bit of a boost when he went down. They improved a little bit. You got that one outing before he got sent down. He couldn't even go an inning.
No.
Then he gets sent down to the Florida Complex League, excuse me. Then you get Gausman and Bassett, who put together phenomenal outings, Berrios as well. Do you think that Manoah situation was just a massive distraction in the clubhouse, or could have been?
I don't think it's a massive distraction, because every player focuses on themselves. Like, they don't put as much into other people. You're focused on yourself. So, you know, you want him because he's a good guy and a good teammate, and you're a better team when your star pitcher is playing well. But when you get moved up in the lineup, if you're a third liner in hockey, like I was, and got moved up to the second, or I was on the fourth, got moved up to the third, now there's more spotlight on you, and everyone likes some spotlight on them, and people talking about them. So it gives a chance for other guys to show their worth. And I think that's a big thing, especially with the pitchers. But as for a field position player, I don't think it has any fact in playing, except for, you know, when Manoah is pitching, those kind of games, you're like, oh man, we're going to have to put up 9 today to have a chance to win. So I think that kind of distraction, or that kind of subconscious mindset, could play in.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Matt. And like I'd say too, like what Albert was saying about Manoah getting set down, like Trevor Richards looked fantastic.
Yeah, he did.
And that opener against when he opened against the Twins on the weekend.
Yeah.
My question was, like, I've seen some John Schneider do some crazy things this season so far, but taking Bowden Francis out of the game and putting in Adam Simber, who comes in and gives up 6 runs right off the bat, like, just in my opinion, a bonehead move. Like, Francis was cruising, and I think they should have left him in. So hopefully Schneider doesn't do some of that in this series. Also, you got to look at the Jays dealing with a lot of injuries, right? I mean, Belt's day-to-day with some hamstring issue. Kevin Kiermaier's day-to-day with a wrist issue. So like Matt was saying about the slotting, like, some of these guys are going to get moved up in the order. So that could be tough for the Blue Jays too. They might get Danny Jansen back tonight, which would be good for them. So Matt, what do you think about Danny Jansen coming back? replacing Alejandro Kirk. Kirk's heating up a little bit right now. Danny Jansen more pop in his bat than Kirk has. Kirk has like a ton of singles on the year, like 26 singles and only like 6 extra base hits. How do you think they should manage Danny Jansen coming back off the IL?
Well, I think anytime you come off the IL, you have to be careful. Like just you have to get back into the flow of things, and there always could be that little curve. I don't care what sport you're playing in, but obviously there is a lot of pop to that bat. And now that we are getting through hockey and baseball, I can concentrate more on the baseball side of it, because it's been so crazy with everything going on the last month and a half that I've watched the Blue Jays. I've watched games from afar. I've bet them a little bit. I was on the Manoah train just hoping he'd get off and turn it around, but he's cost me a lot of money. So the Jays haven't been, Goslin's been great to me, but Manoah's cost me more than my ex-wife and Andy Dalton, as I'd say.
Oh no.
Yeah, Barney, it's hard, man, keeping track of all these things, man. You got the baseball, you got basketball, and then I got soccer, hockey.
Football's coming back.
Football's coming
CFL's
up
in season, but I mean NFL will be
golf.
back soon enough.
Yeah. Tennis was just going on with Roland Garros, right? So it's hard to keep track of all these things. Okay, so let's get some bets for tonight's game. What do you like between the Jays and the Orioles?
I like this to be a bit of a low-scoring game.
The total's at 9 right now.
The Orioles haven't seen much of Bassett, I think. So I mean, and so that should benefit the Jays as well. I mean, not having a lot of at-bats against a versatile pitcher like Bassett that can throw 5 or 6 different pitches at you. So I think that'll benefit the Jays. And also Dean Kramer has pitched well against the Jays. He pitched 5 1/3 innings and struck out 9 last time he faced the Jays. Bo Bichette just batting 3 for 17 against Kramer. So I like Bichette under 1.5 bases at -103. I know Bichette can obviously hammer it out of the ballpark any game, but I think that's one I'm leaning for, and I'll take the under as well, under 9 in this game at -120 as well.
Okay, Barney, what do you like?
I'm all PGA this week, man. U.S.
Right.
Open. I've done about 5 hours of studying, so I'm off on
baby.
the Jays. We will be on them next week, but I'm all PGA and U.S. Open.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, just in case anyone wants to bet it, you can actually bet the series winner at Bet99. The Jays -143, Baltimore +117. So if you're leaning either way, you have a chance to bet the series. Let's talk U.S. Open. Nick Taylor coming off an incredible win at the RBC Canadian Open. What a finish! 4 fantastic playoff holes. It looked like Fleetwood and Taylor were trying to give it away, and ultimately Taylor does it with a 72-footer to win the thing. Have you ever hit a 72-footer to win a match, Barney?
Hell no. Hell no. No, I've chipped in before to win a match, but not a 72-footer. It's much easier, I find, to chip in from 72 feet than hit that putt. So you can usually pick a line that's far enough. I was actually playing golf, and when he made the putt on 18, and then they came in and it was tied, I had like 7 holes left. I was like, no, I'm going in to watch it. So came off the course, went to the bar, watched it. Incredible scene. Man, Canada did it right. Toronto did it right.
Yeah.
The fans were amazing. What a tackle by the security guard on Hadwin. I mean, it had everything, just absolutely everything.
That was Lawrence Taylor coming around the edges there. You see that? Oh, what a hit on Hadwin.
You never see that in a golf atmosphere. People like hanging around. It almost like felt like a Ryder Cup where it was like UK versus Canada, and like they're all sitting in their street clothes. And that's why, like, if you saw Adam Hadwin at a mall, you don't pick that guy.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
Listen, last year at St. George's, everybody rushed I was there. Rushed the green when Rory was on the 18th.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, in Toronto and Canada, golf is massive. Okay, let's talk about the U.S. Open going down at the LAGC. Your thoughts on the course? I mean, the rough they extended at Oakdale for the RBC Canadian Open heading into the U.S. Open. I'm seeing videos of balls dropping in that rough at the LA golf course, and it's unbelievable. You can't even see the thing.
Yeah, and I was listening to the Golf Channel like for hours and hours and hours this morning, and they said it's not quite as bad as the videos seem, and they show different areas, but the fairways are pretty wide. It's going to be running a lot faster, a lot quicker than it is right now. Really tight greens, and you can get into some trouble with those greens. There's fescue right beyond the bunkers, so it's not going to just be pound it and gouge it. It's going to be having to place the ball in the fairways. But a lot of these fairways, like even 18, It's 62 yards wide. Like, it's pretty hard to miss a fairway like that. It's where the ball placement's going to be when it's running very quick. That doesn't favor a guy like Rory, who predominantly plays really well on wet courses, not fast and firm courses. Scotty Scheffler at the Memorial, I mean, there's no way he shouldn't have won that tournament. He hit it so well statistically. One of the best ever tee to green in a tournament, but his putting was terrible. I like John Rahm at the number plus 860. You're getting Cam Smith, who's a great golfer, at plus 2,500. Scotty Scheffler minus 27 or minus 127 to finish top 10, and Brooks Koepka, who's been absolutely on fire, top 10 at plus 130. So a lot of good guys to take. We're going to see a Canadian at the top of the Canadian board, or top of the leaderboard day one. We're going to see an amateur or two there. But usually in U.S. Opens, the cream rises to the top because it's the toughest test of golf by far. They play all year long.
Yeah, we were talking about this off the air. When it comes to majors, listen, the big dogs win majors. That's how it goes. It's very rare to see an underdog go all the way and win a thing, especially the U.S. Open, which is massive, obviously, in the United States. Just quickly, maybe for some beginner golf bettors, if this is your first, let's say, golf tournament that you're betting, what were some tips would you give them? How should they spread out their money throughout the week?
I would just look at top 10s and top 20s.
Okay.
It's so hard to pick who's going to win a tournament. I don't care what tournament it is.
It is, yeah.
Like, Rory was the favorite last week at the Canadian Open, but listen, there's so many guys that can win. There's so many great players, especially in the Open. You can just catch a bad break and lose a couple strokes. But look at the top players in the world. Rory, I wouldn't be touching, only because I think he's plus 1,100, which is, fourth favorite to win, but he doesn't play well on fast and firm courses. So statistically, look at the analytics, look at guys that hit a lot of fairways, a lot of greens in regulation, and even a guy, like Koepka, who's played very well, very motivated, hasn't played a ton of golf, isn't tired, and is very healthy. But to me, it's about top 10s and top 20s. Don't look for a winner. Don't try to really kill it unless you're just putting a very minute, like a quarter or a half a unit on it to play. You can do much better in picking who's going to win one versus another guy, or in a threesome, or top 10 or top 20.
Honestly, nothing beats sweating out a winner on a Sunday, though. It is nice. If you have some skin in the game, like I somehow had Nick Taylor. I threw 5 on him. It was him and Connors were my 2 Canadians, and somehow Taylor pulled it off. So I'm happy days. Do you have anything for the U.S. Open?
Yeah, like Matt's saying, like, I'm a beginner golf bettor, so I'm going to look at the top 20 market. I really like Patrick Cantlay at minus 130. I know
I just don't want to watch him play, though.
I know it's a little bit of juice. Yeah, this is one of the slowest golfers on tour.
Yeah.
No, I just think that guy in every statistical category leads as top 5, top 6 in strokes gained. So for me, looking at him, he's always at the top of the leaderboard. I think he could get there. And a longer shot, like middle long shot for me to win, possibly Morikawa. Morikawa withdrew with back spasms last week. But he says he's feeling good. He's feeling right. He's done some rehab and rested. And
he's a Cali kid too.
And he finished top 5 in the last 2 U.S. Opens. So he can obviously play the tough course as well. And he's just a fantastic golfer. It's a bit of a stretch because, dealing with a back, you never know when it's going to flare up.
Of course.
But he's be where I lean in the outright market.
Okay.
2 par threes over 280, and one that's going to play under 100 yards.
That's crazy. That's
like
crazy.
A pitch and putt.
I play at a course that has like a 87-yard par 3. I hate it because there's no club for that. Right? That's like an in-betweener, at least for me. Anyway.
Even these guys said they're going to be hitting lob wedges in, and he goes, it's actually a really tough shot because you have to hit that shot. And they were all saying all the best courses in the world, and I've been fortunate to play, the postage stamp over in Ireland and Pebble Short. Like, these guys love getting a 9-iron wedge, lob wedge in their hand because you got to make a shot. If you don't make birdie, you're losing a stroke on the field. Whereas 280, 290, you're just begging to make par. It's easier to make par than make birdie, even though it's tight.
Yeah, that's hole 11, par 3, 290 yards. I mean, if you come away with a par, you're probably laughing. If I came away with a triple bogey on that, I think I'd be happy as well. Okay, we've reached the end of the show. Barney, thanks so much for joining us as always. We'll talk again on Thursday, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, that's Matthew Barnaby, former NHLer, and our betting guru here at Bet99, Sean McCormick. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Talking
having me.
Jays, some golf. It was good.
Yeah,
It was a good day.
It was good. I enjoyed. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course, as always. All right, so that's it for us. On Thursday, we'll be back. It'll be me and Matthew Barnaby once again. Conway will not be here. He's still living the La Vida Loca over there in Kelowna. He'll be back next week, so we'll have us three ready to rock and roll here on the Parleh Show, presented by Bet99.